and I'm going to get started. So I'm hoping you see the clock. That's what you should be seeing right now. I use this phrase pretty freaking deliberately. LinkedIn is a business tool, and I put the word serious in front of it because too many people, they miss out on that. They don't think of it that way. They think of it as social media, and I do not think of LinkedIn as simply social media. It is way more than that to me. So I've been teaching LinkedIn as a business tool since actually 2009. I've taken lots of the stuff that I've learned through life and I've incorporated it into what I do and what I share and how I use LinkedIn and YouTube and Quora, et cetera, et cetera. Sandler sales training. I love Sandler sales training. I took 50 people through it, and only about 3 of us really liked it. Now the rest of them just way too big for them. Dale Carnegie. I studied Dale Carnegie about 10 years back, and I still study him today. I'm a leadership trainer. I'm a certified social media strategist, a certified career transition coach, public speaker. And, you know, everything I do is, and everything I've done is I bring it into what I teach on LinkedIn. So why should we be using LinkedIn as a business tool? Pretty deliberately, because 870 million members on LinkedIn, still about 2 new members every second. It's about 60 million companies on LinkedIn. I think I need to update that a little bit. Here's the real big stat that really, for me, is pretty cool. 25% of all LinkedIn members get on at least every other week. Now, I got that number from LinkedIn probably, that was before the pandemic. It was 2019. During the pandemic, I saw a huge upswell in activity on LinkedIn. So I'm pretty certain that number is still pretty accurate, if it's not even higher. But here's another reason in that context of statistics. And I don't have the stat, but I did this realization actually this morning. I was thinking about Facebook and our activities on Facebook. I very infrequently, and almost never, see any activity on Facebook from people I am not friends with. But yet on LinkedIn, I regularly see activity from people I'm second level to, and even in some respects, some cases, third level to, but I see this activity because my first level network engages with them. Now, the reason why that's important is the more people engage on your content, the more likely lots of other people will see your conversation, your messaging, your engagement, your brand. Which doesn't happen on any other social media platform to the degree it happens on LinkedIn. Now, another reason why LinkedIn is, and why it's an important business tool, is because our profiles and even our content is indexed by Google. And so it's a great way to be found even outside of LinkedIn. So should we use LinkedIn as a business tool and achieve our goals? And we need to be purposeful about what our goals are. LinkedIn is a powerful tool to get connected to influencers, to the people who can introduce you to the other people. And the people you want to meet are your target audience, the ideal client, your most important viewer. That's your goal. Every day on LinkedIn should be to be seen by the right people, to get an opportunity to connect with the right people, and then an opportunity to have a conversation with the right people that can lead to business conversations. That's the core philosophy that I teach. Because if you're not trying to get into the right conversation with the right people that can move to business conversations, you're wasting your time on LinkedIn. So relevant engagement, relevant content on LinkedIn that is relevant to your target audience and who you are and what you do is probably the most important thing you could be doing on LinkedIn. And by the way, it's a powerful search tool, whether you're using LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. It's a really powerful tool. And actually, every year, LinkedIn makes it a little bit more powerful. I love Sales Navigator, but it's only for people who are very serious about prospecting and social listening. And by the way, I do not cold call. I stopped cold calling around 2000. I don't know. It's probably 2008 or 2009. And the reason why I no longer need a cold call is because I'm connecting with the right people who can introduce me to the right people. So feel free to use chat. Let me put that up in front of me. Feel free to use, even unmute yourself if you have a question. And so as I go through this, you know, you got to pay attention to your key performance indicators. This is really critical. You got to, I call it measure. You got to measure. If you're not measuring, you're doing this on a, you know, what's called a wing and a prayer. And so here's some of the things you can use to measure when you're getting value out of LinkedIn. Your social selling index. What does that look like? And by the way, everybody has access to this. It's under LinkedIn.com/sales/SSI. No matter if you're paying for LinkedIn or not, you can get access to this. And there's 4 pieces into your social selling index you need to pay attention to. You know, first is, are you establishing the right brand? Is your LinkedIn profile, does it speak clearly? And is it all about a very focused area of business and technology and industry? The other number is, are you finding the right people? Are you connecting with people who are relevant to what you say you're all about on LinkedIn? Now, the other one is, are you engaging with insights? And this is a hard one to move uphill, but are you engaging with content that your target audience, your most important viewer, your ideal client finds useful and it can engage on it? Doesn't mean are you creating content that goes viral. It means, are you creating content that regularly gets seen and touched by the right people? And then the last metric is, are you building relationships? It's one thing to have a connection into a single company. It's another thing to be connected to 5 people in that company. It's another thing to be connected to 50 people who know 20 people in that company. How interwoven is your LinkedIn network? There used to be a LinkedIn lab that would show your LinkedIn connections and how connected they are. It was an absolutely bizarre thing to look at. The application that developed it had to be pretty freaking fast. It showed this huge spider web all around you, and I loved it, but it went away. Mostly it went away when you got too many LinkedIn members, and we got too many members who are highly connected. Here's another big metric. Who has viewed your profile? And search appearances. It's important to not only be seen by a lot of people, but it's more importantly to be seen by the right people. And it's also important not just to show up in lots of searches, but show up in lots of searches by the right people using the right words. And if you're showing up for the wrong words and being found by the wrong people, that tells me your LinkedIn profile is not written properly. And article appearances is important as well, but nowhere near important as profile views and search appearances. Here's another big metric. How big is your LinkedIn network? Now, I've got a pretty large LinkedIn network. Today it's somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 15,000. But here's something really powerful about my LinkedIn network. I do not connect with people who I do not understand their relevance and their relevance to me. I do not connect unless they are relevant to me. And here's the other big criteria for me to connect on LinkedIn. I engage with every single person I connect with. And that engagement is directly proportional to their relevance to me. If they are highly relevant, they may get a phone call. If they're not highly relevant, the most they will get is a LinkedIn message. Really critical. I don't just connect. Here's another metric. How many followers you have? I think I'm pushing 23,000 followers today. I'm pretty active at encouraging people to follow me because I don't need to connect with everybody. But this is my platform. My target audience is all over this platform. It behooves me to grow my followers as much as I can. And here's the last big metric. Can you clearly speak to the last piece of business that you have gotten because of your activity on LinkedIn? Powerful question. Most people can't. I can. And because I'm very purposeful about measuring what I do and making sure that it is leading me in the journey that I want to be on. So know your KPIs, measure that, pay attention. Don't get all anal about it. Pay attention to it. You need to be focused. The more focused you are, the more likely you'll be successful. And we studied in marketing and sales classes that we can't sell to everyone. That is not our target audience. We need to be very clear as to who our target audience is. We need to be very clear about who their influencers are. And the clearer we are about that, the more likely we will be successful. This applies to LinkedIn as well as anything else we're doing. And when you need to understand, my philosophy is my target audience is the human in the role, in the company, in the industry, and then region. And I don't focus globally, even though I do work globally. I focus at any one time in my campaigns, my activities, my marketing, et cetera, I focus on specific regions and specific industries, because I can't target. You can't use one set of words that covers every industry and every region. So my campaigns, my messaging, my conversations, I try to be very purposeful about focusing on an industry in a specific region. And then later on, I change the region and another region. And then later on, I change my industry altogether, so that when I'm, doing my campaign activities, I'm using words that resonate with that person in that role, in that company, in that industry. And by the way, you need to be clear about who the influencers are as well. That's powerful. Too often, people don't even think about their influencers. They're so focused on their target audience that they miss out on connecting with people who can hook you up with your target audience. Because for me, my target audience is not always on LinkedIn, but my influencers are. Again, it's all about the words we use, keywords and phrases. Marketing ties SEO to that. It's important to know, what are the keywords and phrases that resonate with your target audience in context to your products, your services, you as a human, your business overall. And you want to use these words throughout everything you do on LinkedIn, your profile, your content. You want to use these words in your comments, in your company pages, et cetera, et cetera. The more you use words that resonate with your target audience, the more likely they're going to want to read that content. If you're using your words, then they're going to ignore you. Here's my example right here. When I started my business, I refer to myself as a networking strategist. That's how I wanted to be known, as a networking strategist, helping people strategize on the tactics, the best practices, the tips, and the things that they can do to connect with the right people. Well, nobody understood what a networking strategist was. So I had to ditch that idea altogether because nobody understood what it was. So find the words that resonate with your target audience and use those words. Now, let's go a little deeper. Your professional LinkedIn profile. I use the phrase professional LinkedIn profile because, first of all, it means you spent time building the right profile. And by the way, a LinkedIn profile is not a resume. Your resume is your ongoing obituary, and no one cares about your obituary. You want to think brochure. When you think brochure, now you're writing the right content. Now you're speaking to your target audience with your profile. And by the way, a well-written brochure has been taken through the appropriate steps for spell check and grammar check, so you don't show up as in my Manger report or my pubic relations report. And when you are clear about the power of your professional LinkedIn profile and you build it right, you are a step ahead of your competition. You are a step ahead of everyone else who wants to be like you. And write your LinkedIn profile first person. It is you speaking to your target audience. So minimize the distractions with irrelevant content. No one cares that in 1978, I worked at a chemical plant. No one cares that in 1981, I worked for a software support company. What they care about is who I am and what I do today. Understanding all of the different areas of a LinkedIn profile and how to write the content that speaks to your target audience and how to keep them focused on you and who you are today and keep them from going down a stupid rabbit hole. That's how you build a professional LinkedIn profile. And by the way, every single one of you needs a profile picture of you, and every single one of you needs to go back and look at your contact information on LinkedIn and make sure you don't have your old company website on there or your old company email address. That's embarrassing. You are more likely to be successful in life the more accessible you are. Make sure you're accessible. And you want to tell your target audience what you do for them rather than pitching your products and your services. By the way, I gave all of you the ability to unmic. So if you have a question, unmute yourself and ask a question. Let's go to the next big piece, your LinkedIn network. Now, by the way, when I get through these next 5 or 6 slides, we're going to go into LinkedIn Live and I'll answer any questions that you want me to answer there. Your LinkedIn network. This can become your most important asset in life. Think about that for a minute. My LinkedIn network, my Quora network, my YouTube network, my Twitter network, my Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, all of these are a part of my most important asset in my life. Think about that. Everything that I achieve in life in one way or another is because of the people I connect with, is because of the conversations I have with my network, is because of the introductions and the referrals and the recommendations I get from people in my network. And for that reason, I have tagged my network as my most important asset in life. As you grow your LinkedIn network, you want to focus on your target audience, focus on their influencers, but all along the way, you want to be accepting of connecting with people that you can help, who need your help. I call this networking for mutual benefit. When you network that way, networking for mutual benefit, you're more likely to get value, real, meaningful value from your network. This morning at 7:45 Eastern Standard Time, I called a lady who is probably less than 4 hours away from me. I didn't even know she was there. I called her simply to say hello. And we had the most greatest conversation I've ever had at 8 o'clock in the morning with another human being. And I simply called her to say hello and comment on something that she had said on LinkedIn. And it turned into a conversation about business. But I started with making it all about her and something that she had said. And she allowed me to turn it into a little bit different, and which might move to business. You never know. Purposeful networking is how you create real value. I strongly encourage you to think that way. Find people you want to connect with and look for ways to get introduced to them. Find people you want to connect with and bump into them in some meaningful way through their content, or call them and say hi. The most important thing you can do on LinkedIn is to never forget to immediately engage with the people that you want to really build a relationship with. Don't just connect, engage with them in some meaningful way. And don't, again, this is sort of along the line. I used to have behind me a bucket of business cards. Don't do that. You want to connect and engage. And remember that people don't care what you know until they know you care. Show them you care. Show them you're a real human as well. All right, here's the third big piece. Social engagement and social sharing. This is the magic right here. You can have a beautiful LinkedIn profile. You can have a huge LinkedIn network. But if you're not willing to get into conversations with them, the right kinds of conversations, it won't be of any value. So people really don't spend enough time looking for conversations to get into. I see this all the time. They get on LinkedIn and think it's a great place to start throwing up all over their target audience. So they share content. There's those people out there share content every other hour, which, by the way, is a huge mistake on LinkedIn. But all they're doing is barfing all over their network. And you don't want to be that person. You want to be the person who cares enough to listen and engage and to bring great conversations, what I call true conversations, transparent, relevant, useful, honest, and engaging conversations to your LinkedIn network. And when you treat your LinkedIn network that way, by being willing to get in a conversation, share content that is relevant and of interest to them, you're building a much stronger brand. I follow the Dale Carnegie principles, and the very first statement that is relevant to this is make every conversation all about the other person. And I add, until they give you permission to make it about you. This is really critical. My philosophy is engage 4 times for every piece of content you share. You share a piece of content, then find 4 conversations to get into. And my other philosophy is this: instead of sharing content all about you every day, 9 times out of 10, it should not be about you. 1 time it can. Human-to-human engagement. A meaningful comment is a minimum of 6 words. Share content that's relevant, that builds trust, respect, and builds your brand. Again, relevant to your target audience. And this is critical because of the world we're in with social media and what's happening with it today. And people think it's an easy place for us to do stupid things. Never do, say, or engage in any way you don't want to be seen, heard, or perceived of in life. That forces me to hit the backup key, the backspace, or the delete or X out often. Not as often as it used to. And never touch content that could diminish your brand. If you see a piece of content out there that you think is atrocious, that shouldn't be there, move past it. And by the way, if you see me do it, then send me a private message and tell me, Teddy, you screwed up. Don't publicly tell me that. And don't use canned responses. Again, any questions, use the chat or unmic yourself and ask me any question. This was phenomenal piece of content or a piece of research I did. I probably did this about 6 or 8 months ago. 50%, I did a poll and I asked the question, after you look at someone's profile, where do you go next? And I gave them 3 options: website, company page, or I said, oh, shoot, was the 3rd piece. Maybe I think it was their activity. 50% of the people said after they look at someone's profile, the next thing they're going to look at is their company page. So that begs this question. Not only what does your LinkedIn profile say, but what does your company page say? And do you have a company page? This is often a big conversation for small to medium companies or entrepreneurs who go, I don't need a company page. Well, 50% of all LinkedIn members in that poll I did, I had 400 responses to it, said I'm going to look at their company page. So that tells me I should have a company page. You should make sure my company page speaks well of not my company, but what my company does for my clients, which is another big problem that people do. Their company page is all about me, and Uncle Fred, who started the business back in circa 1910, and they fail to speak clearly to their client, their target audience, their ideal customer, telling them what they do for them. So think about your company page in that context. What does it say? All right, that's it. Other than I want to share with you 2 offers, and then I'll do all the Q&A you want me to do. Here's offer number 1. I've got a webinar series. I do it every month. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I think on the 3rd Wednesday. And it's 3 parts. 2 parts are a public group where we dig deep into what I just talked about. And the 3rd segment is a one-on-one coaching, private one-on-one coaching for everyone who signs up. It's 3 sections, 3 webinars, or 3 sessions. 2 of them, again, are public group, and the 3rd one is private. Again, I really dig deep into the conversation. Here's the other offer. The other offer is this, and I'll send all this to everybody who showed up. The other offer is I have a Teachable Academy now. So in my Teachable Academy, I have 4 courses, soon to have 5. The 4 courses are, number 1, digging deeper into what I just shared with you today. It's called Using LinkedIn as a Business Tool. Then I dig way deeper into how to build your profile, way deeper in how to build your network, the right network. And then even deeper with over a 2-hour course on engaging and sharing on LinkedIn to build a brand. So again, I'll offer this to everyone. I'll send it to you in the email, follow-up email. This is only for people who show up here. And, you know, if it's something you're interested in, feel free to message me and ask me any questions. So that's it. That's all I have to offer until I go into simply just answering your questions. So feel free to unmute yourself or use chat and Q&A and ask me any question and I'll answer it for you. And if you want me to bring up your profile, I'll bring your profile up in the conversation. I'm going to stop recording. How do I contact you? Find me on LinkedIn, send me an invite, remind me that you met me here. Or I can drop my email address right there. There's my email address.